So we have many databases in today's world, right, in the corporate sector. So especially why Teradata is big famous. So we have to understand the basics. Like we have so many databases like Oracle, and, Microsoft SQL Server, and Netaja. There's a new database is in the market from IBM, and Teradata. So all these databases are very popular, and Teradata is the one nowadays is upcoming in terms of data warehouse storages. So why Teradata if you have so many databases already in the market? So the specialty of Teradata is it's also a relational database, unlike like any other databases like Oracle or SQL Server, because as you must have studied in your textbooks and all, there are some core tools, control tools basically which will be satisfying to get a relational database, right? So similarly, Teradata will also as part of relational database management systems, and it also obey these control tools as part of structured query language and all that stuff. So what is the specialty apart from this? So it's a normal RDBMS. So thing is, in today's world, like everywhere, the data is the more important thing. Right? And at the end of your business, they need some data to analyze on the business how the business is performing based on the data. They can do some analysis, right? So in a similar way, the existing databases like Oracle and all, they're more of kind of OLTP systems. So like in databases, there are mainly two types of systems, like OLTP and OLAP systems. Alright. So what is OLTP? OLTP is nothing but an online transaction processing system. So basically, when you go to a bank to deposit some money or some transaction that you do right on a day-to-day basis. For example, customer is changing from one place to another place where you're gonna change your address. Those are called transactions, right? So OLTP is nothing but it will be a database where it will operate on a transaction mode. That means it will be capable of only storing your transactional data into the systems. So for that purposes, we have Oracle database. They use mostly Oracle, SQL Server, and some other databases because they don't need to do vast operations compared to data warehouse. So what is a data warehouse? So data warehouse is a complete set of data, including the historical information for more than 10 years or 20 years, whatever. But in OLTP systems, we won't be able to maintain that much historical data and analytical data basically, because here in OLTP system we have only transactional data, right? That means it will not be utilized for any analysis, like in the sense it will not be sophisticated report to do some kind of taking decisions and all. So but whereas in data warehouse that comes to OLAP, that means online analytical processing, which will hold analytical data which will be used for decision making process in data warehouse. So what is the decision making process? Because in analytical data we'll have the data something like the aggregational data which will give you some insights about the product or something like that. So for example, if you have a product called a camera, Nikon camera, and you say in OLAP system something like this will be there. So product ID, for example, if you say 1234 and the product name, I'm just giving you some examples with the type of data that can be held in OLAP systems, right? So for example, we have a product ID, product name, and number of sales for the month. Let's say we have 2000 sales, okay, and average profit, let's say some $300 per month average profit, and percentage of growth, something like this. These are things that will give you some insights about the product, that okay, from last month I got these many sales, and we get of this much data. So I just give an example here how the analytical data will be represented in the data warehouse. But this can be like not only for the number of sales per month, it will be like per year or last 10 years or last 5 years. So we'll have some kind of historical information stored in OLAP systems. So what I can do with this data basically, so I can do some kind of analysis. Okay, last month the sales were not good, so I have to do some kind of operations on this. We have to stop this product being launched next month, or I have to increase the sales in the data warehouse. I have to order new products to get into the warehouse because the sales were good, something like that. So that is at high level. At the business, I can do some decision making process based on the analytical data. That's where the data analytics or business intelligence will come into picture, where your data warehouse will be used. So now where your Teradata fits in. So Teradata is basically will be used as your data warehouse database. For example, to keep this much data, normally like Oracle and SQL Server, they are not very good in terms of storing high capacity data like Teradata, because Teradata can maintain huge volumes of data like terabytes or petabytes in terms of sizes, right? Terabytes, petabytes, and capability is very high to store the data, and the retrieval is also very fast compared to any other database. The retrieval is nothing but to get the data from the database to read the data basically, right? That's where the Teradata comes into picture. This is a basic introduction about Teradata. Why Teradata, and what is the advantage of Teradata is it's a shared network architecture. Compared to other databases, this is a specialty of Teradata. So what is shared network architecture? So basically, if you have Teradata systems already in place, for example, if your data size is growing up, you want to increase your database size from, for example, 10 GB to 20 GB. So normally if you have other databases, what you have to do is you have to get the database down and you have to add that space to the database and reboot the system and do some kind of maintenance activities, right? That is a process for an existing database to upgrade to the new systems. But whereas in Teradata, we have an option to increase the space just parallelly without changing the existing systems. That means there is no shared resources available across different nodes. So we can add number of nodes to the database to increase the size of the database. So we never know, right? Sometimes the business wants to increase some space because the data is growing up, their business is growing up, so they're expecting some more business in the next month. So you have to keep this data into a database, right? So Teradata will give you that much of flexibility to add kind of nodes whenever you want in a parallel way. So then what happens basically, it will increase the size of the database without downtime of the existing database. That is the biggest advantage of Teradata. Okay, and the select will be very faster for aggregation of queries or analytical data in Teradata. So far, any questions here?
No, can you repeat the last sentence? I didn't get you.
The last sentence, yeah, I mean the shared network architecture.
Yeah.
So yeah, shared network architecture in a sense, for example, in the existing databases like Oracle or SQL Server or anything, which are like OLTP systems, basically we'll have the database. If you want to increase the size of the database, we have to stop the database for some time and upgrade the system. There will be some hot backup, cold backup, and some kind of downtime will be there for an existing database. But for Teradata, so there will be no downtime as such. You can increase the space anytime by just adding one more node to the next to the existing systems. So it's like a parallel kind of nodes can be enabled at the same time without any change in the existing systems. So that is what Teradata is special about, because if you want to increase your data, for example, if you are expecting that your business is going to just increase by next month, right? So, for example, next month is getting 20 GB data more. We need some space, 20 terabytes. So we can go to Teradata server, Teradata Corporation ask for additional space. They can provide you one more parallel node to the existing system without any need to change the existing system. That's called shared nothing architecture.
Okay.
So this is like a quite introduction about Teradata basic. So
I have a question to
yeah,
Raj.
yeah, sure. Tell
Going
me.
back to the advantages of using Teradata, you mentioned about the volume of the data, right? So,
Yeah.
so you mentioned about petabytes of data. So, just wondering if Oracle or a Microsoft SQL Server would not support such huge volume of data.
Yeah, because even if you say let's take Oracle or SQL Server, even if you store so much of information, the retrieval of that information in terabytes is very slow compared to Teradata. So, and one more thing is, in data warehouse we keep the historical information, right? So obviously we'll have huge, chunks of data for each product ID or whatever. We'll have huge data, right? So that analytical data processing will be very faster in terms of Teradata compared to other databases, because in data warehouse we don't store the data as it is, right? If it is a transactional data, then it won't be a problem in the existing systems. But we are not storing not only analytical data, so not only transactional data, but also analytical data. So analytical data basically gives the aggregational information, right? So obviously you have to do some kind of aggregation in terms of loading the data and pulling the data. So while pulling the aggregational queries on a database, obviously it will just hit the performance, right? Like in Oracle or SQL Server, it will hang for sure. So, but in Teradata, the retrieval is, a different mechanism is to get the data while retrieving from the queries. So that's why the query performance will be much faster compared to existing databases. So in Teradata, the query mechanism is completely different while putting the data, because the storage system and distribution system is completely different architecture. So the retrieval will be very faster.
Okay. Okay.
So that's why we need to, the Teradata is bit famous in data warehouses, because Teradata is not very good at OLTP system, because if you see banking environment and all, right, where you do day-to-day operation, they don't use Teradata, okay? They use normal OLTP systems like Oracle or mainframes and something like that, right?
But why do you say that Teradata is not useful for transactional processing?
Yeah, because there's a drawback on Teradata side is like inserts and updates are little slower compared to select.
Oh, okay.
So we can load the data in the data warehouse by using any other ETL tools to load the data into Teradata, but the retrieval will be very fast compared to any other database. You can retrieve huge data within seconds. Right, because end of the day, when you report something to the business in terms of data warehouse reports, obviously your retrieval should be faster, right? Because user can file any query on the database with respect to their requirement, and you frame some report in business objects or any other tools. You frame some report, and they'll get the data from them like within fraction of seconds. That's how the performance will be defined in Teradata. Got it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So any other questions, Shavanti?
No.
So, I mean, to just give you like the definition, like whatever we discussed, I mean, it's a shared nothing architecture basically. So, it can be operated on any machine like Unix, Windows or IBM mainframes built on a parallel architecture. That is the biggest advantage of Teradata. So, I will just go through the course content, what actually we are going to cover in our course. Okay. First of all, I will run through the course content, and then I will show you the tool, like what exactly we are using. Alright.
Yeah.
So if you see, this is the course content basically. Will be roughly around 25 to 30 hours. Okay. With an online instruction mode on day-to-day basis. So we'll be covering basic Teradata architecture, database components and what is actually how the distribution will be happening at Teradata site, and what are the different concepts like RDBMS normalization is a generic concept for the database. We'll be covering this as well, and basic concepts behind a database before getting into Teradata architecture now, and then Teradata SQL like all your data types, DDL, DMS statements, and advanced SQL, primary key, foreign key relations, and secondary indexes. Because in Teradata there is a different concept, primary indices and secondary indices, basically in Teradata. So we'll be covering all those concepts in Teradata SQL, and some functions and operations, nothing but your normal function like aggregation, logical, arithmetic, all these functions in Teradata, and the join indices, like what are the indices, different indexes in Teradata, like hash index and join index. So these are the main important stuff in Teradata, because this is quite different from other databases, because the entire distribution will be revolving around your indexes only. So if you understand the concept of index, you will know how the data will be distributed in a database system. So in Teradata is all about, you should know how to frame the query and how to frame efficient query, basically, because you should know how to join your primary indices in a table where you can define so that the distribution will be equal in the system, so that the retrieval will be faster. Because we write so much complex queries in real time, right, in the select, by using select only, but while retrieving the data we are using so many joins and so many complex logic, right? So basically the thing is, we should know the fundamentals like what is index and how the distribution happens with the different AMs in Teradata. So then only we can able to frame a query without any issues in the performance issues. Okay, we'll be talking about indexes, Teradata indexes, and then some joins like inner join, lateral join, and these are the normal joins any database can have, and Teradata application utilities. This is the main thing for Teradata, because why Teradata is so special is like they have some utilities developed within Teradata itself to give you some additional benefits of loading data or retrieving the data. Basically BTEC is nothing but basic Teradata query. BTEC stands for, it's also like a script which can write all your SQLs into one place. That's called a BTEC script. And fast export, fast load, multi-load, tpump, all these are utilities to load and retrieve the data. So fast load is like loading the data into the target tables very faster. So multi-load is like multiple tables at the same time, and tpump is also loading the data. The fast export is to pull the data. So all these utilities are in Teradata is very famous, and once we understand the basics of Teradata like SQL front, then we'll go for these utilities, all these major utilities, and TPT also, that is a new utility in Teradata, Teradata Parallel Transporter. So we'll be covering all the utilities, and then finally some kind of real-time scenarios and interview questions, and we'll be sending the video daily after our class. Whatever the session that is going to have in the classroom, we'll be sending the recording to you so that you can follow the same recording and practice on yourself, right? And we'll provide you the software, Teradata software. So basically Teradata looks like SQL Assistant will be look like this. So if you see the tool, right, Teradata SQL Assistant, so all your queries maybe you have to practice here. Okay, so and first of all we'll be doing all the queries and basic SQL, joins, indexes, everything will be covered under SQL Assistant only. So this is a tool from Teradata SQL Assistant, where you can connect to the server, and then we'll be having this thing as well. So let me connect and show you something. So thing is like we have all the data tables are already available in my system, so you can create similar kind of tables and all for our practice purpose. So I can just show you all the SQL part in this is the tool that we are going to practice. Okay, this is a SQL Assistant. From this we can run all the Teradata aspects, and then we'll be following the utilities as well. Okay, so this is how the look and feel of your Teradata assistant. Okay, and we have some flexibilities in writing queries, like we don't need to write complete select, where you can write select only cell in Teradata. There are some features. We will be discussing all those features in our classes. We'll be completing all the SQL part and the utilities. And the thing is, you need to have a system with latest configuration, which can have i3 processor at least, because if you want to install Teradata, you have to have the machine which can support virtualization. So that concept is virtualization. Nothing but any machine can have with latest processor like i3 core 2 Duo or i5 processors will have that virtualization enabled in the machines. So for Teradata to run on your machine, we should have this should be enabled. Okay. So what is your configuration like machine? Windows 7?
Yeah, mine is Windows 7 and i5 processor.
i5, right? Yeah, that's fine. So we'll be providing the software and we will be installing the software on your machines, and we'll be helping you to how to install the software. So once we get installed the software, we'll be doing the hands-on sessions, because we'll be teaching in the classroom, right? So like normally how the method will be, like we'll be teaching in a classroom with all the, for example, let's take SQL today. I'll be just dealing with the joins, right? I'll be describing about the joins in the classroom, so that you can practice at home and you can come down for any queries and all for the next day, right? So we'll be sending you the recording to you, so that you can follow the recording and see like whatever you can do practice on your software, because you'll be providing you the software, right? So we'll have the Teradata environment with you to practice yourselves, like on the queries and the tools and the utilities. Alright. So we'll be discussing about the Teradata architecture and history of Teradata and all the utilities and all in one by one manner, like, because directly if you go to utilities you won't be able to understand anything. So we'll be covering the basic thing, and the basics are very important, and distribution of the load and all is very important at Teradata. So if you understand the fundamentals, writing a query or working on utilities will be very unlike any other databases. Only thing is you should know how the distribution will happen in Teradata, because that will help you to tune your queries in real time, because anybody can write a query, right? So thing is only thing is how much efficient a query should be, like how much less time it should take. That is main thing, because the DBS in real time won't approve your query unless until it's meeting the standards, right? So we should know what is a standard query, like how to write a standard query. Got it? So we'll be just teaching all those real-time tips, like how you deal with DBS in real time. Okay, Teradata DBS are very tough to handle, because they are very careful, because if something wrong with the query, it can crash the database as well. So with query, we can crash the database as well. Okay, so in utilities, if you do something wrong with the query, it will crash your database. So you should be very careful while writing the queries and the tools.